Greetings, fellow Katzenberg caricatures. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Weil.
And tonight we're talking about a very special documentary that just dropped on Disney Plus in honor of a Goofy movie's 30th anniversary. We've already done a retrospective on a Goofy movie, so this is kind of like a roundabout way of talking about it more for the 30th anniversary. It's the Not Just a Goof documentary recap podcast.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Cheddar, baby.
Gosh.
Alright, how we all feeling tonight?
We're feeling goofy, man.
Goofy to the max.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and get this started. Dragon, I'm sure you have probably a little bit of background, but before we get into that, we can kind of go round table. Jacob, do you want to start? Like, as far as just like thesis statements, obviously.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if I was I on for the Goofy movie. I don't know, Goofy movie one that we did.
I don't know if you were conceived at that time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that predates your involvement in the channel. I want to guess. I'm not completely sure.
Well, either way, I guess let's keep it to this movie. This movie then. Is it going? I didn't know this movie existed until a couple weeks ago.
Wait, a Goofy movie?
Not that one. The documentary,
Oh, okay.
Tiki. Keep
God,
up, man.
I've watched the Goofy movie since I was a kid.
I know. I about had a heart attack. I was like,
Tiki,
how do you not know a Goofy movie?
Tiki, go stand in the corner. Jacob,
All
continue.
Right, fine. I will.
Sorry. All right, so I didn't know this. That's why I said this. I didn't know this movie existed.
Okay, my bad.
Until a couple weeks ago. Like, it's like okay, there's a Goofy documentary coming up. It's like, and coming into it, I didn't know what to expect. And you know me, I don't really watch. And the thing is, I don't actually watch a lot of documentaries. So this is, and I'm still behind on a lot of the documentaries that you guys have previously suggested I watch.
Yep.
So mainly Dragon, but so I was like, so I did actually go into this one with kind of high hopes, saying like, okay, what exactly is
high hopes?
He's got high hopes.
He's got high in the pie apple. I messed that up. High in the sky apple pie hopes. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
But anyway,
back to the corner.
But anyway, going into it, and I said I had high hopes, thinking that this would be good, and it actually kind of exceeded my expectations. Like, I mean, there are kind of some things I wish it delved into a little bit more, but overall, I'd say it did a pretty good job in capturing like the production and like the cultural zeitgeist it's become.
Yeah, I agree, Jacob. I feel very similarly where I did have high hopes for this, but at the same time, I was kind of like, all right, but is it going to be on the same level? Like, is it going to just be kind of like regurgitating the stuff that we already know? Or is there actually going to be like a narrative hook to it in the same way that, you know, like the big ones do? Like, you know, The Boys, a Sherman Brothers story, or Waking Sleeping Beauty, of course. And then obviously like gold standards, like Won't You Be My Neighbor and stuff like that. Super/Man.
And what about Howard? And what about Howard? I haven't seen Howard.
Howard's also very good, yeah. And I got to tell you guys, I think this film it definitely exceeded my expectations, just because like I think it comfortably fits like right in that pantheon. I mean, maybe not as like profound as something like Super/Man or Won't You Be My Neighbor, like. Those are kind of like on their own kind of like different territory. But as far as just like sheer Disney documentaries, this is up there. This is up there with Waking Sleeping Beauty, which I'm very impressed by. And I think the big thing that we have to kind of give kudos to for this movie is that great framing device and kind of like leaning it back into the family element of it all. And yeah, I think the hook of this guy kind of like finding all the, you know, like all the old stuff, all the old footage and stuff, and kind of going through it and sort of like his own personal journey with the movie, and also kind of like reflecting on culture's journey with the movie as a whole. Mix that in with some really good making of stuff. an awesome framing device involving caricatures, which I can't get enough of, and I can't wait to talk about with Dragon. Yeah, this is a win, man. This is absolutely a win. I wasn't expecting to get as emotional as I got at the, in the last like 10 minutes or so. It really kind of pulls a gut punch at the end a little bit, like a positive gut punch. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing tragic about it. It's all happy tears, but it's tears nonetheless.
Well, it's more like an emotional noogie.
That's a really good way.
An emotional thumbs up from Poppy.
There you go.
Oh my god. All right, so yeah, I'm pretty glowing about this one. I definitely going into it, my expectation was honestly I knew I was gonna at least have fun with it, but I was skeptical if it was gonna kind of live up to the heights of Awakening Sleeping Beauty, and I don't necessarily know if it's exactly on that level, but it's pushing that level. It's in the same ballpark.
I mean, the thing is, it also manages to be kind of an emotional roller coaster. It's okay, there's some parts that gets you laughing. Oh, that's awesome. Or oh yeah, that's great. But then the next moment you're like, oh.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So yeah, I would say this is a solid 9 out of 10 as far as documentaries go. All right, Dragon.
All right, so I got wind of this last year, and I was so hyped. I was wondering when on earth it would be released, and then I realized, oh wait a minute, because I hear it's premiering here and there, but when will it be available to the public, to the masses? Right now, it's only available to the elite Disney crowd, the people who are on the cruises and the people who are at the museum, which Tiki formerly was. So it's
believe me, if I was still working at the museum, I absolutely would have jumped on it.
Yes. So I was racking my brain, when will we see it? And I could have had a V8 moment, wait a minute, duh. 30th anniversary is next year, and then to find out it was going to premiere right on the day, 30 years to the day. Perfect idea. So, look, I love a good Disney documentary, especially about, the troubled productions or nostalgic favorites, of which this is kind of both. Checks all the boxes. And also, it's kind of a spin-off of Waking Sleeping Beauty in my book.
It is a little bit, yeah.
I mean, think about it. The Big Five, they have a little cinematic universe of the Disney documentaries. You could kind of string together. You have Frank and Ollie at the start. Let's see. So it's Frank and Ollie. It's the boys, the Sherman Brothers story. You have Waking Sleeping Beauty. You have Howard, and you have this.
Yep.
Those are your Big Five.
And then Walt and El Grupo is kind of a weird.
Oh no, you're right. That's in there, I guess. Chronologically, probably was it.
I like Walt and El Grupo. I like that story. I don't really like the way they told it in the documentary. It was fine. I just wish there was more actual plot in that documentary. Anyways, I digress.
All right, fine. 5.5. Anyway, so
the documentary was more of a vibes documentary than a narrative, and I think it could have been more of a narrative. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm so glad you derailed this is a solid 5 movies, and there's Walt No Group. I'm glad you just derailed it for that, Tiki. But we're just gonna. The point being, this checks all the boxes. I admit, a part of me, and I'm not. This is not a fair criticism. A part of me wishes it was a little longer, or kind of took the RoboDoc approach. The very intensive RoboCop documentary that essentially was so long they had to break it up into 4 episodes.
Movie, dude.
Do you mind?
I'm sorry.
I'm saying a part of me, the fan part of me, kind of wishes it was let's relish every scene, kind of like we did that RoboCop. It was so massive they had to break it up into a series of 4 episodes. But realistically, I get why they didn't do that. That's just the super fan in me. So I'm just saying, in that respect, it always could be a little longer, even though. But again, smartly, it's not that long. It's pretty much the length of the original. It's a hair under 90 minutes. It's as long as it needs to be to convey the story. It's a Valentine of a tribute to a Goofy movie, and we need more of this, Disney. Put on those mouse ears. We need more of this. Okay.
All right. Okay, so Dragon, you got any background on this? I'm sure it's not a ton.
Oh, I have really good background.
Oh, okay, cool. Right on.
Okay, so this was directed by basically our filmmakers who you saw in the movie. Eric Kimpleton, who's an effects guy for a lot of movies. Even recently, like he's done some of the Marvel movies and beyond that. Then we have Christopher. I'm going to butcher his last name. Christopher Ninnies. Ninus. Let's just go with Ninus because Ninnies just sounds insulting. Christopher Ninus. He's an editor. So the point being, these two guys, these two pals, they met back in 2010, and of course, in finding out, oh, here's my new friend Eric, and Eric happens to be the nephew of Kevin Lima, who is of course, the director of a Goofy movie, and Christopher essentially is a he's a huge Goofy movie fan. He became Kevin's intern, so that's how they all know each other. Paid or not, I can't tell you.
I just think it's nice. It's like, oh, hey, I love a Goof movie. Yeah, my uncle directed that.
It's kind of like the Scooter thing. Oh, my uncle owns the theater. What?
Right.
It's like my uncle directed a Goofy movie. Yeah, right.
Oh, it's true. Girls, come back.
Oh God.
He also directed Tarzan.
Oh God.
Okay, we're warming up. And Enchanted. Okay, we're back. Anyway, so these guys, big Disney fans, but also love Disney documentaries. Gold standard. They too are big fans of Waking Sleeping Beauty,
this has so much Waking Sleeping Beauty in it, honestly.
Well, it's funny you mention that because there was a huge connecting thread besides just the similarities. There's actually a big there's a very big connection between this and Waking Sleeping. I'll get to in one sec.
Besides Don Hahn.
Well, thank you for just throwing that out there, Jacob. Yes.
And I haven't seen Waking Sleeping Beauty directly.
And that just makes it even better. So, documentaries like Waking Sleeping Beauty being the gold standard and being an inspiration. The impetus, however, I think you're going to love this, Tiki. The impetus was in 2020. They saw the Frozen 2 documentary on Disney Plus. And they basically were watching, and they liked it pretty much. I'd like to say for the reasons we like it. The point being,
I'm still shocked that Disney, I give Disney full respect for putting that up, but I'm still shocked that they did, honestly, because they don't pull punches with how much of a mess that production was.
So they didn't spell it out, but I would like to think, given what we see in this movie, maybe that also landed with them. But the point being,
I feel like in some ways this movie's almost kind of like a lighter version of the Sweatbox with a happier ending.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Which, by the way, it sucks that they've taken that off YouTube now. But it was it's still great. Yeah. But yeah, so they saw a recent breaking down Disney film, and whether it was being satisfied with the depiction of how Frozen 2 was documented, or just in general, why can't we see the movies that we really love get an in-depth Disney documentary? Why can't they make a Goofy movie documentary? And then it was kind of a see a need, fill a need moment, to quote Robots, of hey, let's do it ourselves. And basically, it was a very indie movie effort. They were debating doing a YouTube short, a very not a feature-length documentary. Let's do kind of a YouTube short of sorts, an essay, probably a video essay.
Yeah, right.
With Kevin Lima, who we have access to, thank God. And they pitched him on it, and Kevin Lima basically said, well, guys, this is a great idea, but are you sure you want to do this? Because Disney could always just veto this and just take it down anytime they want to. And of course, Lima, being the risk taker that he is and just being the fun guy, is yeah, sure, why not? Let's see how far.
I wonder what the legalities are when it comes to documentaries. If you get people that are actually involved in the production, is that where because obviously we have a ton of video essays about Disney movies out there. You know what I mean? I wonder where.
Well, that falls under the weird fair use thing where they're talking over, but occasionally you do hear audio. But you're right, though; it's people being involved in it. So a lot of that, I think, they're under the fair use window, which is why they're able to use the footage. But it's also the thing of if it makes money too, and there's the monetization thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
I don't know what essays are monetized or not. I don't know. It's probably a lot of legal jargon that, unfortunately, our lawyers called that sick. It's probably fine. He's just carousing around somewhere. Regardless,
he's probably hungover after the Daredevil finale.
Oh yeah, he's probably he's gone to Josie's to lick his wounds. Regardless, so the guy said, let's just do it and see how far we get, because they were big fans of it and they wanted to do it. Lima's he's game for anything, so it was kind of a match made in heaven. The process was about 2 to 3, technically 5 years because of the pandemic. Let's say reeling from the pandemic, roughly it was a 2 to 3 year process because they finished it last year. It was out last year, so so they went over, as we see in the movie, they went over 100 plus hours of VHS and high 8 tapes, and they had to watch through each individual tape 4 to 5 times to watch it to know what happens, and then the full tapes. And then they have to basically scan it in so they can use the footage, because again, it's like, how do you get the tape onto HD kind of quality, like the end product?
Basically conversion.
Yeah, well, yes, conversion. Like, how do we convert it? So the X Factor, you're probably wondering, how the heck did they pull this off? If so as an indie effort ends up being a movie that we can watch on Disney Plus. Well, the X Factor, Lima, he's got Don Hahn's phone number. So he calls up the man who made Waking Sleeping Beauty. He brings him on board. He gets involved. You know what the big not that he needed convincing, but if he did, Don Hahn's daughter, huge fan of a Goofy movie, and her father made The Lion King. Okay, and so when that movie comes out, she's like, oh my god, I go screw the lions. I want to see this.
You know what? The Lion King had a big, profound impact on me, like in my film journey. Like, as you know, The Lion King was the first movie that I ever saw in theaters. I wear that as a badge of honor. I will take a Goofy movie any day of the week over a Lion King.
It's like, screw the lions. I can go with the zoo. Okay, yeah. Where's a Goofy movie? So this was very much, they called him, his nickname was the Fairy Godfather. He was the Fairy Godfather on the production, where basically he got him the green light from Disney. There was no red tape they had to cut through now. He was on the, he was their he was their net of protection. He was their Katzenberg on this, but a far more, sane Katzenberg. But the point being, he was... Anyway, so the movie gets made. It premiered, like I said, it kind of premiered on like the Disney Cruise and then the Walt Disney Family Museum, and basically they kind of built up the buzz for the anniversary. It wasn't intentional from the get-go. We're going to debut, because again, they've been trying to get it made and finished for a while now. It was just kind of by the time they had everything and had the juice flowing.
It wasn't like, no, we're going to sit on this for like 2 years and then release it at the perfect time.
Yeah, because it would have been like an uneven year if they were, they were hoping this to get it made, period. So,
Well, it's just kind of funny. It's just kind of funny that it finished in like 2024, like it premiered, and then they held it on for Disney Plus until
which was a smart move in terms. And again, in the karmic scale of this movie, it's kind of in the cosmic scale of this movie. It's appropriate that the movie's release, it was kind of slaughtered by by its own competition under the mouse banner. In a sense, in terms of Disney took all its own business. So
what's ironic about that too is that I feel like The Lion King slaughtered both a Goofy movie and Pocahontas. Just as because Pocahontas was obviously the one that Disney was more all in invested in. Like, this is gonna win us our Oscar.
They were these movies were lion show.
Well, that was like all Katzenberg's champion.
Yeah. So it's kind of cosmic or fate or something, where it's just that they have the perfect release date that means everyone who loves a Goofy movie would watch it on this day. So it's good. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so I want to talk specifically about that fucking intro with the song, dude, because that didn't just bring back nostalgia. That gave me a legit sense of deja vu. All right, that was tapping into just a core memory.
I teased this up for you. I said to be open some obscure VHS tape stuff, didn't I?
Yes, you did, and you were not. Oh, Dragon. I was so on board. But my one thing is that honestly, I don't know. I kind of hyped myself up to that, that there would be some sort of involvement with that, that we get an interview with that band or something. But whatever. It's a really, really smart way to just introduce you know what this is. You know exactly what this is. Every element of this movie is ingrained into your brain and you know it.
So the opening overall, I love that it's the build up thing, but the movie's very full circle now. We open on the VHS tape playing, and then of course we end. The whole movie lives there. Originally the movie was going to be about the fan base of a Goofy movie, but then they had the tapes, and the tapes changed the whole project and gave them so much more.
If they wanted to be really accurate and meta about this, they would have just released this documentary exclusively on VHS. Wouldn't that be great?
I mean, that'd be great, but it'd be funny if, like, okay, look, we're gonna release it on Disney Plus, but the only physical way we're gonna release it is on.
There you go. There you go. I take that.
Oh God.
So I love that we build up, with the little TV and the VHS, which again the VHS tape is predominantly because again, just given the fanfare this movie did not get, everyone saw it on VHS. So
oh, absolutely. This is the Disney VHS movie.
Yep, I had the VHS tape.
Mm-hmm. So it's a crucial component that we absolutely had to open on.
And of course, and now your feature presentation.
There we go. And you have like the music playing in the background of like the guy,
Jacob, did you have a VHS that also had that song on it, or did you have like a later VHS?
I don't remember if I had that.
Okay, yeah. That song, dude, it's one of those things where it's like I have not thought about that fucking song and probably like.
The thing is, I didn't even recognize the song when it first played.
So as soon as it first started playing, I was like, oh, I have like an Anton Ego flashing back to his childhood moment, dude. Seriously.
Just Tiki with a little sniffle as he walks in the door.
I am not joking. That was how visceral my reaction to hearing that song was, dude.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that reaction because I didn't remember.
Beloved family member pops in the tape for him and pats him on the
head. I always fast forwarded until the opening intro.
Me too. That's why I don't know it either.
Oh, you don't know it either? Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm glad that one of the three of us, because that was exclusively for me then.
I appreciate it when oh my god, they're pulling from the actual tape, but right,
yeah.
Anyway, I was too eager to see what would happen.
Of course.
Anyway, so the point being, this all builds familiarity, which is a really strong way to open the movie. And the little TV, it connects to us, the young Chris, Ninus. And the setup and payoff with that, and here's the thing: I have a praise and a nitpick at the same time here, okay? Because it's kind of a double-edged sword. Where the only nitpick I possibly have in this entire film, but we kind of rectify it, is I feel we kind of shortchanged the hot tub scene.
Mm.
Now that said, there are two things to factor.
I kind of feel like it's one of those things. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, two things to factor in here. Okay, one. With what is presented, while it irks me we didn't discuss the scene as in depth as the Hi Dad soup scene, we did, subtly. The whole point of like the Jeffrey Katzenberg, Steve Martin thing, which we'll get into, is the whole like recording, the whole way we record Goofy's voice. Subtly, the payoff of that is that gets us to that scene. We don't get that scene going through there, and we hit on the pathos throughout the movie. So that scene is kind of in spirit. It is discussed, and we end all in the beginning. We have like the cool VHS opening. We're seeing the scenes fast forward to on there. The big one we end on is the hot tub. My son loves me. That we end on that.
Totally.
Now here's the benefit though. Okay, it's kind of a supplemental thing. I told Tiki, did you watch the clip I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Good man. So that is the silver lining, boys. Even if we didn't mention it in the movie, at least on the same day we released this awesome. Jake, what's the name of it again?
On the Road Again.
The On the Road Again 30th anniversary short between Bill Farmer, Jason Marsden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they mentioned that basically Jason mentions that his favorite scene is the hot tub scene.
And I got exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to know what Bill Farmer thought of that scene, and he said exactly. I didn't always like that scene, but years later, I actually now like that scene. As he's kind of, I think it makes sense.
Bill Farmer's interviews are one of my favorite, talking heads in the movie. I mean, obviously, he's a big name, of course, but I found it so interesting how he was breaking down the philosophy of who Goofy is as a character, and that it almost felt kind of sacrilegious to give him this many layers at first when he first started doing it.
So that's really interesting. That again, you would imagine he's used to doing it. That's he's the fact that this movie was huge in that it defined Goofy for the first time.
I actually met Bill Farmer in person a couple of years ago when I went to one of my conventions.
Yeah, I remember you telling us about that. Yep.
And he wanted to speak. And don't get me wrong, there is a connection to this movie, and Dragon knows exactly what I'm going to say. Probably.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
That the person in front of me. I took a mug from Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway to sign.
Nice.
But the person was Goofy, piloting pulling the train. But the person in front of me had the map.
Oh my god.
Passed down from Goof to Goof.
Oh my! Oh God! Yeah. They should seriously. If Disney like recreated that as a poster, I would buy the hell out of that.
And Dragon sent me a link on eBay that it's like a recreation of the map.
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
And Bill Farmer's actually coming again this year, so if I do go, I'm gonna get that map.
There you go.
And I'm gonna get him to sign that.
Now here's the question: do you get him to sign next to the names of the scribbled out goofs?
I'll see what I can do.
By the way, really quick, I've always been curious. Is there any relationship to James Marsden?
Okay, wait, is it I might have actually screwed that up. Is it? There's Marsdale and there's Marsden. Is this Mars? This is
you did screw it up. You said Marsden.
I want to make sure. So that's. Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute. Marsden, you say?
It's Marsdale, isn't it?
Okay.
No. His son is Jason Marsden.
Max is voiced by Jason Marsden.
Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah.
Great. Thanks for the confidence boost, Tiki. That's just great.
Jason Marsden. Yeah, it's Jason Marsden.
So I am kind of curious if there's a connection between.
Well, isn't this the difference that Jason Marsden has a D in the name, where Jason Marsden?
There is a difference in spelling. Okay.
Is that it? Anyway.
Are you talking about? What do you mean?
Cyclops. Well, that's James. I know the first name's different, but I'm saying the last name though. So there's James Marsden, and there's Jason Marsden.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's still Marsden, but they're not related to each other.
Okay, maybe it's just coincidental. Regardless of the Marsden debate.
I'm sorry.
Point being, the map, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Anyway, so again, I love that we the scene at least is represented somewhere. So that's great.
Sure.
The fact that was a really good. By the way, how cool was that? Just to shout out, really, how that 7-minute little reunion was awesome.
It was nice. I mean, you can tell it was obvious that they weren't actually driving throughout the entire
game. Yeah.
And it became even more obvious when they were in the river.
What if they just did a straight? What if they just did them driving in the river completely practically?
Well,
they just put the car down in the river. Maybe it's on a track or something, like an underwater track.
That'd be great.
Oh, God.
or if they were in one of the rivers in one of the parks.
The River of America.
Probably something like that. There's no waterfall in the River of America, though.
No, there's not.
The point being, if that's my biggest gripe and it's still resolved in some which way, shape, or form, I think we're in good shape with how great the documentary is.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so the filmmakers are in the documentary. I think that's a very human component. Personal. Think about this. With all the other documentaries that we've had, this that thing might be the most personal. I don't think we've actually had the people behind the kid with the Don Hahn not counting because he's the. I know he's.
Obviously, The Boys is a super personal story, and you've got Richard Sherman in there, but. Yeah, I would say I don't know, Dragon. I think The Boys is still pretty fucking personal.
Well, no. I mean,
The Boys is fucking raw, dude.
No, I know it's personal and raw. What I mean is putting the actual filmmaker in a role in their.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Because Don Hahn, I know he's a cameo, but he's also mainly just the narrator. So I mean, he's in there, but he's not really he's not a framing device.
I gotcha.
So yeah, so again, it's just the behind the scenes here. I just love that, this is how we get the archives. Again, they're not only a plot, they're both a plot point and kind of our setup and payoff. So it's how do we get the archive? We see it, Lima's nephew. And I love that, the mythic yet mundane reintroduction of Kevin Lima in this movie, where he has this awesome house with. By the way, I love even before we get to the basement. That's like the ending from Raiders. I love that he has all the Hot Toys and the Mondo figures and all the other cool stuff. He has Muppets and he's got animals.
He's like a Kermit hanging from a crocodile mouth.
Yeah, he's got an actual animal puppet or something built into the thing.
I really love the Jungle Book poster he has because he talked about how personal of a movie that was to him.
He comes from the Brad Bird School, my friends. Well, literally, but he comes from the other Brad Bird School.
I'm going to be as soon as we talk about the caricatures, I'm going to be name dropping Brad Bird.
But yeah, so Jungle Book being the again, Jungle Book was the lightning rod for him.
The funny thing is, the Jungle Book was like one of the few, like one of, if not the first, like Walt era Disney film I saw on VHS.
Yeah, and it was the very last Walt era Disney film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do know that much. I guess because the movie, because the VHS tape I watched, had that little documentary at the end of how it was made.
Tiki, Jacob knows a thing or two, and that's number 2.
Okay, I in my defense, I wasn't stating that like Jacob didn't know it. I just stated it in case people didn't know it.
I know.
Right? Give me a break.
I know.
Real quick. I love.
I think Dragon's is a bit more damning because he only said I know like 2 things.
Oh, God.
Anyway, okay. I love of all the stuff that he had in the above section of the house. I love I'm so jealous that he has the Mondo Iron Giant. It's so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, like I also love the figure. I love how Kevin Lima collected a bunch of different things from the movies he's worked on, including the figurines like Max and Roxanne.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And again, this is the only they're one of a kind. They're the only ones that they I love you can kind of tell they're handmade maquettes too. Just given the budget they were working with, just looks really it's something really special. A piece of the actual movie history is by his side the whole time we sit down and interview him in his cool purple chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm convinced it's a prop from Enchanted or something, but I don't know.
I can see that.
Because it sounds like it's funny in the in kind of the interviews after the movie came out, Lima's joke that now that Disney's seen all the stuff that he has, he just kind of took these things, so that was worried there's gonna be a knock on the store and they're gonna take stuff back.
Yep. Thank God that didn't happen.
Right. Anywho,
inexplicably, fucking Pete comes to Lima's door and it's like, Lima, you got Disney stuff.
They're just gonna send Jim Cummings to do it, just as Pete.
Right.
That would be the insult.
Mr. Lima, eh?
Sorry, Lima. They sign the checks.
Okay, Dragon, you saw the stand up I did where with the jobs, and then I had that bit about me. With the museum, the Oliver Twist orphan bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, when I do the whole please sir, can I have some payments? If you listen closely, I was trying to do Pete is the the supervisor who's like payments. Listen to it again. I feel like I did a really good Pete there.
Okay.
All right. Anyways,
let's see. So yeah, that's the thing. So we learned that Lima is the roots of his animation, very character based Jungle Book, and it's very appropriate that Jungle Book was his foray. And he goes on to do Tarzan, which is the other iconic, awesome jungle based
jungle Disney movie. Yeah.
Has
there ever been a Jungle Book Kingdom Hearts world, Jacob?
Well, you mean sorry, can you repeat that?
Has there ever been a Jungle Book Kingdom Hearts world?
Well, actually, I do know the question. The answer to that. There actually was one planned for Birth by Sleep.
Okay.
But it never came to fruition.
I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that Tarzan got one and Jungle Book didn't.
Well, one of the people on one of the head writers on one of the writers on Kingdom Hearts, the first Kingdom Hearts, recently saw Tarzan and basically begged Tetsuya Nomura to put it in.
No, I know. I just know that the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate is notoriously difficult to work with.
Well, I think it's at that time. That's basically why it hasn't been in any future Kingdom Hearts games.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
All right. Yeah. So he's a Cal Arts grad, and that brings him
about Kingdom Hearts. I'm sorry. It's not even about the documentary. It's just about a clip in this movie that I think is kind of prophetic.
Yeah.
It's when Max is reacting to Goofy packing the car and Goofy's like, I'm going on a trip with my best friend. And Max is like, who? Donald Duck? And I'm like, I don't think at that point in the Disney canon, Goofy and Donald Duck were linked like they are now. I think that was a really interesting kind of foreshadowing to Goofy and Donald's dynamic in Kingdom Hearts a little bit. I don't know.
There's also something kind of also interesting, given what we even have in this movie, where DuckTales came out before this.
True.
And DuckTales was the other, like,
the spiritual successor to DuckTales.
Well, that's the thing. So DuckTales was kind of like the thing that Katzenberg was trying to avoid with that movie. In terms, this is where we took the TV production and we put it in theaters and it didn't work. So we're gonna, we're trying to do this better. So basically with the Goof Troop, we're gonna make systemic changes to the formula, make it something very different.
Can I just say, for the record, I think that Katzenberg is way too hard on the DuckTales movie.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not great. It's certainly not a.
Well, remember, Tiki, he's going off the financials.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, if I had one nitpick about this documentary, is that I kind of feel like we sort of just like brush past the DuckTales movie. Honestly, I would have liked to see a little bit more about like how Disney Toon Studios got started with the DuckTales movie, but I don't know. I just want to shout out the DuckTales movie because I feel like it's like a footnote here. It's like, oh, that's the one we tried that didn't work. But I think the DuckTales movie, like, there's some outdated elements to it, but I think by and large, it's a really fun movie that is basically like the blue meth of DuckTales, as far as like it's it's like DuckTales like perfected, like the formula perfected. So yeah,
you know why that is, don't you?
Oh God, why?
Alan Burnett.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Tiki, I brought that up when Tiki and I did the retrospective on that many years ago.
I would hope so.
Like, all right. But I mean, I said if I have any, I mean, that's probably gonna get into this later, but I kind of wish they kind of went into like more of the turmoil that basically Jeffrey Katzenberg's tenure.
Well, sure. Funny you mention that. Let's talk about the man himself. So the Jeffrey Katzenberg stuff.
I love that. Speaking of which, I love the caricatures and how they drew him as like the dog face.
The Katzenberg caricature is just—it's so perfect.
So do it first of all.
Of course, give me the heart.
With all of our illustrated, animated, like kind of flashbacks and recreations, the fact that everyone, basically, we're doing in like the goofy, kind of like the goofy style is just really.
I love that Katzenberg is not only in the goofy style, but he's also drawn to the scale of like the Brad Bird little person. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and remember too, like in all the characters we saw in Williamson Beauty, a lot of the times he was probably a shortish guy, so they exaggerated the shortness in the caricature. So they brought that here.
Bro,
the guy was so Napoleonic.
Right.
But even again, you've seen the Giant Stream, right? The Iron Giant documentary. I showed you that. We talked about that, didn't we?
You know what? I actually don't know. I'm sure I probably did.
It's like 50 minutes. Like it's definitely on YouTube.
Yeah. No, I did see it. Yeah, you're right. It's not quite feature length. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Well, that one. The point being, you also see a lot of great, Teddy Newton caricatures in that. So that's so you're not off base at all with the classic short person.
Okay, we got Eli in the comments, and he's agreeing with me. He's saying the characterization of Katzenberg is almost like the boss character from
Mr. Huff.
And that's exactly what I mean. That's like kind of like the classic like Brad Bird little person style, which I love that style in Brad Bird animation. Anyways,
and Mr. Huff is the character's name,
and then obviously Skinner in Ratatouille has the same style.
Yep.
Yep.
The rat, it's getting away.
Get my lawyer.
Funnily enough, the principal in this movie, voiced by Wallace Shawn, kind of has that.
Very appropriate.
Just a little bit.
And look, I want to be clear. Okay, the only legit nitpick that not legit nitpick. The only true nitpick I have is the whole the hot tub scene. That said, though, I love that we referenced it somewhere else, though, in a way I didn't see coming. Though we the electric chair does get represented in the song that we see. We have the deleted song that I never would have known about properly. Yep. The bad boy song.
Can I just say, it feels like I feel like if that song would have been in the movie, the pacing would have been fucking ruined.
Well, that's the thing. That's what's frustrating because I really like that.
It makes me appreciate so much just how perfectly paced a Goofy movie is.
I mean, that's the heady thing though, because that just the little glimpse that we had at the Bad Boy song that was.
It looks like a compelling sequence.
Yeah, but absolutely, you're right, Tiki.
But from what they've shown, it probably would have ground the pacing to a halt.
Exactly. So it was a smart cut. And here's the thing: what we have in its place with just the acting in the scene of the electric chair,
the
electric chair.
Seriously, my God, Bill Farmer, he is just the shit. That guy.
The electric chair.
Again, I just love how perspective has changed with him all that. Where just he's on the edge of his seat. Like, oh God, is this gonna? I'm doing something goofy I've never done before. My God, it is still like that's the blue meth version of Goofy right there. That is like Goofy in his most perfected state, and layers upon layers of like the first thing he says when the phone call comes in is like, "Oh, is Maxie okay? Like, is concerned about his son?" And then just like again, just Mazer is just gutting this poor, sweet, simple character, and he's just like you're delivering, he's just like kicking him in the stomach over and over again with terrible like prognosticated news about his son's future. I would reconsider how you're raising your child. Literally says that.
Oh God.
Anyway, the point being, so Katzenberg. Again, he's drawn. Yeah.
It doesn't. Never mind. Go on.
Sorry. So he's. I was so drawn in and impressed with how this film recontextualized Jeffrey Katzenberg in ways I never even considered. And that's what really affected me about this documentary. The relationship that I've kind of had in regards to Jeffrey Katzenberg has always been a tumultuous one, where again he's kind of the light bringer, but he's also kind of the guy with the pointy. He's also kind of the guy with the pointy ears sometimes.
They kind of did reference that in this movie too. It's like, I mean, even Kevin Lima was like, it was kind of hard to get him on your side, but once you got him there, he was in your corner 100%.
And I love that we expressed that. We really fleshed out the wonderful complexity there, where many a time it's like Jeffrey Katzenberg, it's the frustrating thing where he greenlights a lot of good ideas, and he puts the great stuff that we love, like a Goofy movie, into motion. But as this movie gets into, he got into it for the wrong reasons, but not entirely bad reasons. Like for example, he did this to see if he could kind of make a faster and cheaper version of the feature-length Disney film, but again, he still wanted to be of a high quality that would be a feature quality. So this was testing the grounds for it. So again, very much the money, success, and fame-driven Jeffrey Katzenberg that we kind of know, love, and sometimes loathe, all that represented there. But by the same token, though, it's for a very positive end. And again, approves Toy Story, almost kills it with the Black Friday cut. That's the anathema that is the living character of Jeffrey Katzenberg.
I love how Katzenberg is so complex in this documentary. I love how he has that arc of like he literally goes from like the thorn in the movie side to like when he's gone, it's like shit. Like
we just
you felt something when he was doing the sad Hawk walk.
I love that. I love how we tell that. I think it just it really hits. Go ahead, Jacob.
It's like it went from like him like being like it's like he fell asleep through he was like sleeping through the first 30 minutes of the movie to the end. It's like we lost our biggest champion.
Yeah. Like just amazing. Like he goes from like the little the cartoony short man with all the diet Cokes like lined up, and yet he's kicking the Coke can at the end.
Like I mean, I kind of wish it kind of like elaborated more on like why he was fired, because like it's kind of painting him as like kind of a tragic figure.
Well, again, Jacob, this is like
the thing about that is that's literally all what Waking Sleeping Beauty is about.
So it's very much a companion piece, Jacob. So that one, I mean, they covered the very surface level, but they get into the whole meat of it there. Like they tell you why he was fired, all of that. So I mean, look, I know your point being like in a vacuum, we should probably know these details, but if we're in the perspective of the guys making the movie, it would be like, this is just like, okay, we've inexplicably taken them. It's above their pay grade to know the reasons why. It doesn't really matter to our story necessarily the why. You're right. It's interesting though.
I do get that, but I'm just saying it's like sometimes part of me does feel bad for Katzenberg at that time, but also part of me does not, if that makes sense.
I know, but that's the beauty of it.
The sleeping beauty, I guess.
Yes, that we've woken up.
But yes, I mean, but it is kind of interesting, although I do kind of appreciate how it doesn't always like linger on how Katzenberg's firing, but how it affected the production of the movie.
Exactly.
Itself. Right.
So enough of my point on that. You guys can go ahead.
Yeah, so again, ultimately, like the movie, in getting a Goofy movie made, he did this again not as a tribute to Goofy, but just basically as a test run let's use again one of the Fab Five, as they like to call them, one of the big icons of Disney.
I really don't like that name.
I don't like that name either, but you keep bringing it up sometimes. We kind of feel compelled
because that's what they are. I mean, it's like I can't just not call them what they're called.
And Goofy still remains the only one to have a solo movie.
This is true.
True.
How does Mickey not have a solo movie, dude? How is there not a Mickey Mouse movie? That blows my mind.
I mean, Bernie Mattinson pitched one, but they never made it.
Right.
Yeah. So, and again, like, it's interesting that like Katzenberg's looking at like kind of like the $6 million man here in terms of like, well, we have the means, we have the technology, we have the excess of Disney is flourishing in the 90s. We have like all the other animation studios. Why don't we outsource this and make it cheaper, but of a high quality? So, yeah, I mean, Katzenberg asked smart questions. Like, he asked for like animation dailies, and like, which basically kind of reinvigorated. Again, Disney had kind of broken away from the Sweatbox style, which they kind of returned them to in a sense.
I do kind of like how when he first came in, he's like, he did not like, show me like your B-roll. Like, we don't have B-roll. This is animation. And then he's like, but once he like learned that, he was all in.
Yeah.
He's not like Phil Lord and Chris Miller. He's not just going to be like totally oblivious to that process.
Scene's completely done. Okay, no, we're just going to start all over.
Exactly.
So here's the thing: I love what Katzenberg, even like recontextualizing, like again, this is what I'm saying. We get in this movie, then makes you kind of recontextualize where he always had clunky notes, but they came from a good place, and they ultimately were kind of right. But again, he just expressed them as clunky because he's not a creative. And I think he has a businessman with good ideas, but he's not creative. Basically, okay, if I had to summarize it overall, Katzenberg and
sorry,
go on.
I'm just saying he did kind of have a good thing going when he's like, is this going to be like a 90-minute gag movie?
Yeah, so he scanned the heart. He needs the heart, just like the
90-minute gag movie is the Emperor's New Groove, sir.
Like, but it's just the fact that like in the time it took me to do 4 panels, he had scanned the entire movie.
Which, again, that's what I'm saying. That's the intrigue of Katzenberg, where he is smart. And this is the epiphany that I had watching this, Tiki. Okay, you're either going to roll your eyes or you're going to love it.
Oh, God.
I think Katzenberg, I kind of realized ultimately that Katzenberg, while still I advocate for Tucci, mind you, but again, it's like Katzenberg's kind of Saul Goodman. He's kind of the Disney version of Saul Goodman. That's kind of he's coming from a very there's in terms of like he's someone with there's Jimmy McGill moments where
slimy, but there is a heart there.
Yeah. So think about it. His big note, the clunky note that he had for Goofy movies, that he was trying to say, let's infuse pathos into Goofy, which is kind of like in tune with what the features have done with like the I wants and kind of the main character arcs that we've had in the movies. And less slapstick. That's essentially what he's trying to say. What he said is like, is the whole movie going to be like this? Is it just going to be the Goofy shtick when we're making a Goofy movie? That confuses and baffles all the people involved when he puts it like that. He was perceptive though, because like you said, he's scanning the boards. He's not an idiot, even though he makes very business savvy, decisions that do border on the game because he the non-creative side of him. We're like, hey, the voice, it's not working for me. That's what Goofy sounds like.
And he's like,
okay, let's get into the fucking Steve Martin.
Yes, this was like the best part of the whole. I love this part.
He's like, what if we got Steve Martin to do it? It's like, you mean Steve Martin doing the Goofy voice? No, Steve Martin doing his own voice.
It's just such an insane. Again, this is like the whole Black Friday thing with Toy Story, where again, his point was like, let's make sure we don't. But we're not afraid to, make like fun kind of like jokes for like all ages. That's kind of what he's trying to say, but it says like, no, we need to push it, man. We need to make it super edgy, it's like, it's like Frank Miller trying to direct a Disney movie. That's kind of what his pitch was, for Toy Story.
And then he did. I love the compromise, like how they like kind of like played his game by like having Bill just record the movie in his own voice.
Yeah, let's not hire Steve. If we hire Steve Martin, we're going to be stuck with him. We don't want that.
And then they're like, and then basically they got Jeffrey to agree. Like, I agree with you. It does not work.
But again, I love we kind of hit on this. We don't draw it out as much as we. I feel if we drew it out, we could have gotten to the hot tub scene. But I do love that the point is with the 2 cuts that they have had. They've had the very traditional Goofy, and they had just Bill Farmer giving a performance. Meeting in the middle is exactly where they needed to be. So we absolutely needed this bizarre Steve Martin story to happen to get us to the perfection and the blue meth state of a Goofy movie that we ended up having. So it's that weird conflict of, again, we need Katzenberg to make really stupid decisions sometimes to make a movie ultimately great.
I think one of my favorite scenes was actually one of the VHS tapes that Kevin did for like the animators. where he was talking about the Hi Dad soup.
Yes,
scene.
The Hi Dad soup scene.
Which, I mean, I don't want to like reveal my favor one way or another with the debate, but like, yeah, it's hard to beat the Hi Dad soup scene as far as pathos. It really is.
What I mean is how he described it is like they're awkward. Like they look at each other and they're feeling awkward, kind of thing.
But so one other thing too. I'm sorry, just before we get to the Hi Dad soup, just the whole VHS tape kind of notes dailies that he would give the French animators. Again, I do love that, ultimately it's like things don't change. Like Steve Martin doing Goofy's voice, and again, it's like Jeffrey was like one of the authors. I want to say, honestly, even with going like to stuff with DreamWorks, if you look at the tomes of animation, tomes of history between, him going from Lion King to, to eventually start DreamWorks, it's kind of, he was like the author of like the big problem in voice acting. One of the huge problems in voice acting, where we cast the celebrities versus the seasoned or the beloved voice actors for marketing purposes. Only he literally said in this movie, like he just wants Steve Martin so they could sell it on Steve Martin.
Imagine how we could market it.
Exactly. So again, which is the wrong mindset to have there. And again, they did see the error in his ways, but apparently not enough for how DreamWorks even. But again, I guess enough for the sanity and the coherency of this project. But just going forward though, he did do the cashing. He did make the Black Friday cut of Toy Story Ultimate. That's basically the premise of Shrek was. So he's taking these bad ideas and he's making a bundle off of them. So it did work out for him eventually, just not under the Disney banner.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Hi Dad soup, it's interesting because they kind of talked about this a little afterwards in interviews and stuff, that the VHS tapes that he would record and send to the French animators, because again, this is like before the era of like the video call or like the phone patch. So he's basically that's him pre-recording all this and he's mailing it to the French.
Can you imagine how much that cost in videotapes?
Oh god, because that's essentially it's like every binder was a scene in the movie. So imagine any binders.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, and he had to like do all those tapes, film it. It's like I love this random aside comments. Like it's like I just got back from another Jeffrey meeting. Also, it's like that was my wife. It's 8:30. She's wondering where I am.
Oh, man. So these guys, again, these are why we love animators and we love the people that make our favorite Disney movies and our favorite animated movies. These are the guys who they sleep under their desk. They will put the heart and soul into these films.
I mean, they pretty much pointed out like this movie. You think a movie like this probably would be easier to make than some of the others, but they made it actually point out like, no, this movie was actually very difficult to get made.
But that's the thing too. I mean, they're working with a little less than the full Disney budget, and again, they're like the B project. Like this is not like an A project.
But technically, like Lion King was the B budget. This is almost like the C project.
You're right. This is like I like to call it the G project, but it's still you're right. It is the C project.
I mean, the thing is, I even remember like once like it was either like during the D23 thing or something like that, where they like Kevin Lima wasn't actually there, but he was like either on video call or pre-recorded video. But it's like we didn't have the budget. Lion King got the budget.
The lion ate the budget.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like you could tell it didn't seem like he was still a little salty about it.
Every time he goes to a zoo, he just boos the lion section. Boom! Oh, I'm kidding.
But anyway. he loves the gorilla section.
Well, of course. Says you guys treated me right here. Anyway, but yeah, so the fact that again he's conveying the pathos, because again he's not really that fluent in French, so he's conveying the pathos and the acting in the scene, so it can along with the storyboards. Which
I love the idea that he's like animators are good at like communicating visually, so he used a lot of like his face and his hands to communicate with them.
And it adds a whole nother level to what he's doing there, because again, there's obviously, as we learn, our three kind of characters within our filmmakers and all filmmakers, including Kevin Lee. He did have creative input on this documentary, but clearly because he provided the materials. But beyond that, he did offer him ideas. For example, the wraparound idea, like putting the filmmakers in the movie, was Kevin Lima's idea, and they took him on that. There's some ideas they didn't use, a lot of ideas they did use, and that was one of them. Now, I think all three of them are connected essentially by Spielberg daddy issues. in a sense. In a sense, for example, Lima didn't reconnect with his father. His father left for essentially for 25 years until he reconnected with Tarzan, which is a nice kind of button cherry on top they put at the very end of this movie. That eventually Dad came around, which is nice. And we see Ninus and his dad, obviously. Point being, it's basically, again, like a lot of the heart of his own daddy issues are kind of in the High Dad Soup scene, both in what he's trying to convey. So it's coming from a very, very genuine place. I mean, I think he's going on record saying he very much feels like Max Goof when he's pitching that movie. That's why the Max Goof scenes are some of his favorite scenes the board and kind of do the VHS tapes on.
And it's like, as kid, even Jason and Bill were talking, when you're younger, you kind of identify with Max, but as you get older, you kind of see where Goofy's coming from too.
I just love the movie is the ultimate bridge, is the ultimate generational bridge. That is basically what this movie is. It's like the perfect,
It's amazing that this movie is very steeped in the '90s culture, but it remains timeless at the same time.
It is the timeless.
I almost kind of feel like it's one of the things where obviously people like us, who grew up in the 90s are gonna, well, Jake, I know you and Dragon, you guys are more 2000s and 90s, but you existed in the 90s.
I was born in 94.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. So it's you're not that much younger than me. So yeah, we're all 90s kids here.
Yeah.
So it is the nostalgia, but then I kind of feel like for the newer generation, it's that kind of oh, the 90s, man. That must have been a cool decade. It's basically kind of how we treated the 60s. You know what I mean?
The 90s now are about
so cool to live. Yeah, go ahead.
Think about it. The 90s now are as far back for us as the 60s were when we were born.
Which is goddamn. I literally thinking about that makes me sick. But you're right.
Think about how our parents feel. My mom was born technically born when Walt Disney was still alive.
Jacob, grab Tiki a bucket easy.
Technically my mom and dad were born when Walt Disney was still alive.
Yeah, same with my mom and dad, Jacob. They're even older. My dad was born in 58.
My dad was born in 59.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess just bridging into it again without scratching the surface too deep. I think there is a universal quality of this film, and this is my big pathos thing with this movie, with this documentary. They kind of hit on the universal. I always thought it was just. I imagine other people kind of felt this kind of way. It was somewhat of a universal. I always felt like this movie. I mentioned this during the Robots podcast. Nobody watched, but the Robots podcast. I mentioned my father's kind of an amalgam of some beloved animated characters in my my heart of hearts, and there was Herb Copperbottom's a lot of the soul of my father, but in terms of the presentation, he's kind of a mixture of Hugh Neutron and Goofy from a Goofy movie, and because of that, and again, this movie really got into the phenomenon that everyone, again, it's the universal language of everyone's father is Goofy. Because again, that's perennially, you always have your father doing a goofy thing or something, and that's kind of but again, factoring that in all the strives and the trials and tribulations of fathers and fathers trying to be in their kids' lives. It's a universal thing.
Even the narration is I basically realized my dad was a person with his own problems.
Yeah, and again, it's like the Spartacus. I am Spartacus. I am, I am Goofy. It's everyone's has that. And again, it's kind of the father becomes the son. So it's the father becomes the son becomes the father story in a sense. As we saw in that 7-minute thing with Jason Marsden, where he said, now I was Max and now I'm Goofy.
You know what? Instead of getting the Freaky Friday sequel, why couldn't they have just remade Freaky Friday with Max and Goofy? Would that be a good Goofy movie spinoff?
No, that'd be a freaky Goofy movie.
Oh gosh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper.
Okay, real quick. Someone in the interview I watched with the filmmakers, the lady who did the podcast. I think it's called Animation Addicts. I think it's called the Animation Addicts podcast. This lady, she had this really great pitch. I forget how it came about. I don't know if she pitched it or I think she just said, "Oh, I'd absolutely watch it." Lima or somebody. They had this excellent pitch for not a Goofy movie. I know. Did you see the post credits on this?
I do. I do think it's kind of funny that Tiki, did you see it?
I didn't miss it.
Well, there is a post credits scene where basically it's just a short little 15-second thing where it's would you be interested in directing a sequel? No.
but I would like to do a Powerline documentary.
Oh, dude! Oh man, don't get me started on Power. There's so much you could do with Powerline.
I mean, heck, even though
I'm honestly surprised that Disney has never tried to like make Powerline like a digital band in the style of like Gorillaz or something. Seriously,
but like even like Jason Marsden and Bill in like that On the Road Again even said like the world needs a they need a Powerline concert.
So anyway, the idea that was pitched, I think, is actually a really good idea of like how to do a Goofy movie sequel without just doing a Goofy movie or extremely Goofy movie. It's Pete and PJ. Like basically, let's see like the flip side. Again, it would be ambitious as all get out because any sane investor would say you're out of your mind, unless they were like the popularity of the Goofy movie. This is the time to do it. That's the only way you would get this movie made. Like, well, this is it, but it's still like doing ambitious. Like Goofy's
like, as far as legacy Disney characters go, Pete was literally right there. Like,
see, here's what I suggest.
I mean, Pete was like the oldest currently existing Disney character.
Here's my pitch based on just that impetus of an idea. What if we explain the age-old mystery with the popularity of this film? Everyone has seen this film. Everyone has had the same universal question. What happened to Pete's family? What if we bridge the gap between the Goof Troop and a Goofy movie, and we explain through like basically a current-day father-son dilemma between Pete and PJ, and we explain, maybe explain divorce or whatever happened with.
I like that. I like that.
Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what we should do.
I mean, Kevin Lima did reveal that technically Peg is still together with Pete. They didn't divorce.
Okay, well, regardless, there's a story there. I want to know what happened.
It's like, and I don't think that's what he's implying. I think it's just like he's not personally interested in directing a sequel himself.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anyway. Okay, anywhere else we want to go with this?
Well, let's see.
Well, we haven't talked about like the ending, but talked about the film's like initial.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
What about the black dot? Do you want to talk about the black dot?
Oh yeah, the black dot.
Real quick, the black dot.
Oh my god!
Oh god! This is something I didn't know. It's like now they basically like almost like the funny thing is they actually like filmed it traditionally, but instead digitally like they like almost like because animated films are always like frame by frame with an actual film camera, but in this case they like did it on a monitor. And it's like, how about we just watch the movie and they're like, wait, there's a dot up there.
I don't know about you guys. I love the fact that we did like essentially a diagram of like how the animation process works with taking the frame by frame pictures. I love that we did that.
And then they realized they basically made almost the entire movie with a dot in the corner,
and they had to go back and do it all over again.
but I do like how they pointed out that it did save them because it gave them more time to finish the movie.
Sure.
By the way, I love that it parallels the RM Star thing from Toy Story 2, where basically someone put in the wrong command code in the computer.
Right.
Basically, rapidly, it pretty much deleted all, like, let's say 75% of Toy Story 2, and they thankfully recovered it by a hair, by a baby. A baby saved Toy Story 2.
Oh, thank goodness for Galen Sussman, basically.
Yes.
Isn't that the?
Yeah, that's her. I forget what her son's name is. It was a boy.
I was like, Galen Sussman was working from home due to her pregnancy, and
God bless Galen Sussman and baby.
And and she had like a lot of the movie files like saved on her personal computer. And basically, she's able to. Without that, we wouldn't have Toy Story 2.
Yes. Okay, so we should probably talk about the Powerline stuff, shouldn't we?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So Tevin Campbell,
you guys are on the timing, so
yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, Tiki, is there anything you very much want to make sure we work in just to make sure? Then
honestly, I'm fine. I'm kind of coasting at this point.
Yes. So. Okay, so Powerline we get. Okay, so. Tevin Campbell, I had no idea about any of our Powerline stuff. This is really great wealth because music. I'm kind of blind to a lot of the the music stuff. So I really
educate yourself.
I just kind of funny. It's like how like Prince was one of like the inspirations for Powerline.
Which you could always feel there was a Prince and Michael Jackson vibe.
And they actually got like one of Prince's backup singers to do the movie.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And also,
Tevin seen the actual like the actual recording sessions for this. I'm not gonna lie, that was surreal to see.
And especially the surreal thing for me was the dance moves.
Totally.
So that was like amazing footage. I think they unearthed for the first time because Disney had in the past done stuff where they had like shown like the motion, kind of the reference and sometimes like for the dance music.
Like a really common thing for them to do, like back during the Walt era. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had done this at times, but not. I guess Goof Movie just fell by the wayside, unless it was at the end of the VHS tape, and I'm just not remembering it. But yeah, so it's the fact that we had like a Prince protege in Tevin Campbell. And then we had like Prince backup singers and a Prince backup singer. We had like I think
I love how we have the Tevin to match our Kevin. By the way.
Oh yeah.
Just something about that naming convention just amused me.
I have never heard of the name Tevin, but I think it's cool.
It is.
There was actually a Tevin on Survivor a couple years ago.
Really? There was another Tevin? Wow. Anyway, so it was so again, just the fact that Powerline has developed the fan base that he has, and just the fact that he's again,
like I said, Disney fucking like it blows my mind that they don't get on making Powerline a digital band all like Gorillaz.
And I wish they had mentioned the anecdote of how Powerline got his name.
Jacob, how did Powerline get his name?
I mean, you know the story, Dragon.
Well, just tell him the story, okay?
I don't know who. Okay, I don't know who's behind it, but apparently they were like trying to come up with names, and like they were driving along, and they like saw some electrical power lines, like Powerline. Yeah, that'll work.
There you go. Now the folks know. Now Tiki, what if we've educated them?
I don't know. I don't know the names of the people involved who came up with the name there, but
okay,
that's essentially how it worked.
So yeah, the point being, this Powerline section was very, very informative, and the mass appeal and seeing like the most the dance, all the choreography that went into the dance scenes, but also I want to highlight the editing on this whole thing where we cut between the movie and the reference and like the singing and the recording and just in general how we've handled all of our archival stuff and how we've showcased. Because think about it, there was a really clever, subtle thing going on here where the VHS and high 8 tapes. I've become a little savvy in this somewhat because of I did a really intensive Dragon Ball Z deep dive lately when I was trying to recover the series on DVD, and I ran into an enormous amount of problems, and I found out the whole the importance of the full screen and the widescreen. And how you can screw that up. And essentially that's what they did here was really clever, where because it's VHS and high 8, they can't do widescreen for the stuff they found on the tapes. At least, so that's why we have the side by sides the way we have them. That's why it's all squashed in, because again, they can't make it wider, but it gives us the good side by side comparison. That's why we have it on the little TV too.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So also here's something I was kind of blind to, where I had no idea I always thought it was just coincidental. I never thought it was of an actual, not intentional, and it wasn't intentional, but I never thought of the Goofy movie appeals to an African American demographic. I always thought that was just coincidental.
I always knew that.
I thought it was coincidental, but it makes a lot of sense. We have Powerline, who's kind of an amalgamation of Michael Jackson and Prince to a degree. Obviously, other things are.
But I also feel like the struggle with Max and Goofy, the masculinity of it all.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I just think father figures in Black culture are kind of oh, and by the way, Dragon, if we're going into this territory, yeah. But no, seriously, fathers and father figures in Black culture are kind of notoriously it's don't have a great track record. So yeah, it's definitely I feel just being able to see a father-son story filled with so many ups and downs and ultimately very cathartic. I could totally see it mixed with just that 90s vibe, the Powerline music. Absolutely, I can see this.
It's just, I just felt so stupid for not putting together. No wonder. I noticed a lot of the fans who talk about Goof movie, a large portion of them are Black, but I never put that together. The themes would translate that well to what. That's just great.
I mean, it is just a universal thing.
Yeah, it is. It's a universal thing, but I never thought that there would be that layer there as well. But it's just it's a very multi-layered story. It's great.
To bring up Katzenberg is or Katzenberg adjacent. It's like an onion. It has layers.
There you go. All right, so Katzenberg's firing, big point of intrigue. If the movie wasn't already on firing all cylinders already, the fact that this would impact things.
Because the thing is, it's up, it's oh, and you have a smile on your face the whole time watching it, and then Katzenberg's fighting, you're like, oh.
And just I was just like on the edge of my seat, like, oh God, I completely. And this thing where you think, I kind of went in this a little. I knew Goofy movie didn't do what I knew it was like a cult hit, but I didn't know it was like, oh man, something might have happened to kind of bring the production down to that and may not help things. And like, oh God, it's like I'm putting the pieces together, like Katzenberg leaving. I imagine the movie's in the can before Katzenberg left, but I forgot. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe him leaving, because him leaving benefits Toy Story. Him leaving Goofy, maybe not so much.
And the thing is, they even pointed out, it's like they weren't releasing as in many theaters. Mm-hmm. Like they lost their biggest champion for the movie, funnily enough.
Yep, all the merchandise went out the window. Yep. And again, I love that it's like Katzenberg leaving. On one hand, him leaving bad. On the other hand, like again, he made the movie that also kind of crushed him as well with The Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, that's the movie he didn't think would be successful.
Yep.
At first.
So just the internal chaos. There's sympathy for Katzenberg and like Curb Your Enthusiasm. They had this HBO called Curb.
Katzenberg.
So when they're making Curb Your Enthusiasm, they have the HBO called it their little experiment. So this movie was kind of Jeffrey Katzenberg's little experiment.
Oh God.
Honestly, recently I kind of feel bad for Katzenberg.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like he was basically forced out of DreamWorks when Universal bought DreamWorks. Like the Quibi streaming service is basically dead on arrival, and he hasn't really done anything in notes since.
I just want to throw this in there because I meant to bring it up earlier when we were talking about like the approval thing with Jeffrey Katzenberg. The fact that he's the man with the green stamp, much like in The Terminal.
Oh, yes.
Just want to throw that in there again. I will die on the hill that Tucci basically he played Katzenberg in that movie. That is like his audition for the Jeffrey Katzenberg
to play Jeffrey Katzenberg.
I just want to get that in there somewhere. We can move on. So
basically, they talked about like reducing, like slashing the budget, not opening in as many theaters, basically moving the premiere from Los Angeles away from journalists to Disney World.
Yeah, the most protected place it could possibly be. We're going to put in the place where Goofy hangs out.
I mean, instead of like at the El Capitan, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically, they even pointed out like it was basically just an obligation for Disney at that point.
Now, I had no idea. I genuinely went into this having no idea. I knew it didn't make money, but I didn't know technically it made money, but the fact that it did make Disney money, especially for the features that were coming out at the time. But the fact that I had no idea the critics were so scathing towards it, that I didn't know.
Well, just fucking oh my God, that Ebert and Roper review.
Oh, no, it's not. It's just actually Siskel and Ebert. They're both alive.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right, Dragon. I grew up in the era of.
I know you grew up in the Ebert and Roper. You grew up in the discount era.
Yes, I did. But that's Siskel and Ebert review though. Oh my God, it pissed me off so much, dude. I think honestly, out of everything in the documentary, that might have given me like one of the most visceral reactions.
Here's what's most cutting about that whole section. Okay, it's two things. The fact that Ebert opens with like a really awesome factoid of like Bill Farmer having the whole Pluto Goofy quote.
Uh-huh.
So he used that against
that. Yeah, right.
Using that, and then the fact that Ebert's I think making it's not obviously not in the movie's favor. I mean, Siskel's a lot more scathing about it, but it's just the fact that Ebert's kind of making a somewhat decent point. But again, it's like in the way of like it's like a deflating, like, hey, Ebert's talking about us, but he's not saying great stuff. So it was like the thing like that. Basically, the vibe I got is that they're saying that was the best review they got, and that was like you get like kind of a meh from Ebert, and then like, oh, I didn't care for it from Siskel. Like Goofy belongs in the 40s. That's essentially what Siskel's review boiled down to. Goofy's a 40. Goofy and Prince. No, thank you. No.
Oh my God.
That's essentially what he said. Oh boy. Anyway, so the movie. How did you guys take the statistic was like the movie was 28 to 37 million, or was it like 18 to 28 million as the profit? Like, how did you guys because we cut from like he says it was 37 million. He says 22. I take that to be the $18 million budget. It only made $10 million.
Like I think it made a profit of that much.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just sad.
Yep. I mean, basically, like, got to the whole VHS thing. It's like they released it cheaper than The Lion King. They released it like early, took it early out of theaters.
Yep.
It was.
So thankfully, there was a candle lit in the darkness, friends. D23. So, well, mind you, the fan base had been building, but D23 was the big resurgence, and we were there. We were around. Well, we weren't there, but we were present during this big panel moment for them.
And it's like they didn't realize that. They realized that how many people grew up to love this movie.
Oh yeah, well, Rob Paulson kind of gives it voice like, "Wow, I can't believe this."
and Dragon, I sent you from the same D23 where Bill and Jason sang on the open road, which was awesome, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. Indeed, it was.
And the thing is, because Jason Marsden didn't actually sing in the original movie.
Wasn't it? So not at all, right? He didn't. I thought there was like one song that he might have done. So he didn't do any of the
most of it was Aaron Lohr.
Okay, because I know he did like the earlier song.
Like majority of it was Aaron Lohr.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. So again, so the D23 in the YouTube era, the kids are loving it. It's universal that we see our parents in Goofy and vice versa, and we even have people doing like live action shot for shots of After Today, which is amazing.
Which I've seen like countless times, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So the full circle letter
After Today and on the open road on karaoke, doing all the voices at the same time.
Howdy, boys.
Watch it, Mac, or you'll be told.
I always love the ending. Like we go operatic, fun and fancy free.
We're feeling how good it is to be.
I love we saw the reference for the dancing. We had like one of the. It's like
yeah, for sure.
Like doing the
old
jig.
Prospector, like doing the jig.
Yep.
All right, so our full circle.
I think I might cut it out here because I need to. I actually need to get a ride, which will take about 5 minutes. So
don't leave us like that, Tiki.
I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm sorry. I have to be the absentee father in this situation.
Just give us closing thoughts real quick, then.
Yeah, I mean, closing thoughts. Like I said, I went into this like expecting to have a good time, definitely expecting to like it, but I thought it had. I thought living up to stuff like Waking Sleeping Beauty was going to be a tall order, and they really rose to the occasion. I really like how this is both just like obviously a big love letter to a Goofy movie as far as, you know, just showing the production side, but also, as I'm sure you guys will get into, I wish I had time to get into it, but I don't. The pathos that comes with it at the end. Like, we have some emotional gut punches that we haven't gotten to yet. So yeah, I think this documentary really delivers. Obviously, I'm in love with the Katzenberg caricature. Yeah, just all around a great little watch for sure. All right, see y'all later, guys. Have a good one.
See
you later.
See, folks, I thought he was Goofy, but at the end of the day, he was just Pete. He left us. Anyway.
But anyway, yeah.
Okay, so the big full circle letter to a Goofy movie. This was Lehman's idea. This is his pitch for like, you guys should address the audience and put yourselves in the movie. And we have
dear cast and crew of a Goofy movie.
This really hits me because I always like doing the thank you letters like this when I meet people that do. It mean a great deal to me, So I really appreciated that he just made like a big pathos-filled just kind of addressment to what the movie meant to him, which is kind of the whole point of the documentary. So it wasn't just thrown in there. It wasn't like an ego thing. It was like this does relate to exactly why you make the movie and what basically our third act is, what lifts us out of the darkness of. And it didn't do well when it was released.
It's like talked about like. For the people that did see it and how much it meant to them, and like it helped him reconnect to his father, and help him realize that his father is human, basically.
Yeah, and again, it's the thing where Lima mentions. I love he mentions while we see like the visuals of again basically where our animated kind of dog people goofy style here.
It's like I'm not your little boy anymore. I have my life. I know that. I just want to be part of it.
Good acting on Goofy.
I mean, not good acting on Goofy, good acting on Bill Farmer.
All right.
I mean, Goofy's the character. Bill Farmer is the guy who did the voice.
I'm just saying, I think it's kind of the thing where Bill Farmer has become the definitive Goofy. So I think in that sense,
I mean, he basically is, yes.
Yeah. So
like I just want to be part of it.
Yep.
And then, yeah, and then circumventing that with the letter, like Lima's like basically it's like talking about like how people like say like what really kind of got to me was like when Lima was like, how dare you do that to Goofy? Like, how dare you give him emotions and depth?
Yeah, basically, like, so with all the kind of the critics being harsh, even his friends would say, like, how dare you? Like, a lot of his friends were just upset that he gave Goofy dimension and layers, which is insane. Where I think that's like, gives us the best Goofy.
I mean,
even to extremely Goofy. I want to be clear. I know I like extremely Goofy.
I do too.
I want to be clear. I don't want to just go into a whole thing because we want to give this movie its due. But I'm just saying that with that in mind, this movie and that even Extremely Goofy movie to its credit, trying to mirror the type of Goofy that we had in this movie, a Goofy with pathos is my kind of Goofy.
I mean, like, even certain episodes of Goof Troop had that as well.
Well, I'm sure they did. That's what I'm saying. It was like more of like a hint of it there, and we actually doing the whole movie. We actually like really explored it. We actually did it.
I mean, there's not a lot of animated movies or even just movies in general that explore the dynamic between father and son.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, Lion King kind of did, but his father died like in the first act.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I don't think Lion King's necessarily the sparkling example.
I know, but I mean that's why I said like don't get me wrong, Lion King's still a great movie. I'm just saying like, and the movie, even that movie was dedicated, like they dedicated that to all like fatherhood and fathers. But but this movie is like, it's like an actual good example, especially in animation, of a father and son story. Like I said, it's a rarity.
So basically, Lima, is kind of talking over as we see the reunion of Christopher's family, where the father, basically there's like a 2.5 year separation, and
I love the picture of him with like his father, and of course Goofy.
A live action photo, which very, very, very nice touch. At the point Lima's talking over this, where we see, the parents connecting with the kids and basically kind of like checking in more. It's kind of like the idea the father would sit down, maybe see that maybe I could be there, maybe I should recognize my kid's growing up or my kid has its own life. It's kind of like it's the gut check for fatherhood. That's essentially what a Goofy. I like that it did extend to even just like parenting in general.
I mean, this movie did that long before Finding Nemo did.
Well, that's true, but that's what I'm saying. Like the ultimate like Father's Day watch, man. I'm just saying, like on the father-son kind of side of things, you have a Goofy movie, and you got Find Nemo. Those are the top two.
Like I said, and this movie like predated that by 9 years.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm just saying. Like this movie, like a lot of people give Finding Nemo credit for that, but again, this movie beat it to the punch.
Yep.
And some people. I'm not going to say which one did it better, but
I still think the trifecta of the animated Father's Day movies right now, like off the top of my head.
Goofy movie, Finding Nemo, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the third one?
Well, I would say Onward, at least under the Disney banner of things. Beyond that, you had to factor in Mitchell's versus the Machines. But in terms of father-son, that's the trilogy.
Oh yeah, it's like Onward. Definitely, I'd count that.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day,
even though that was more of like a brothers kind of thing too.
Well, yeah, it was brothers, but the whole point of it, fatherhood doesn't necessarily have to be just like biological.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be anyway.
Don't get me Dragon. I'm one of the few movies I actually saw Onward in theaters.
Me too.
I saw like.
So you were the other one. You were the guy in the third row.
Yes, that was me, Dragon. I drove all the way. I got transportation all the way to your state and just to watch the movie in the same theater.
You have no whimsy at all, do you?
That's what I'm just saying. I rode all the way to your theater to watch it.
Yep. Okay, so
I'm going along with your story.
Yes. So the movie bombed. Yes, the movie bonded father and son. Yeah. It's the bridge. It's the movie. This movie did a lot of good. It's I just love we have like movies again, documentaries that really strike a chord. Where you have like the Super Slash Man. It showed us Christopher Reeve basically ultimately made people walk again. It's a very inspiring story. And on the flip side here, we have Goofy as a character. He bonded the family unit. He basically again the legacy of the Goofy movie is it showed perspective. It bridged the generational gap. It brought families together. It's kind of Goofy's legacy. That's something really beautiful about that character. Yes,
it reaches for parents, it would teach them your child is their own person. You need to understand what you need to understand them. Maybe give them room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But then it teaches children your parents are people too. They have their own struggles. They have things to deal with as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to meet them halfway.
So again, ultimately, the last words in the documentary from Lima were essentially that the fans made it a classic. They defined what a Disney classic is, and the fact they were talking about 30 years later, cements it as a classic. And then we have our VHS end shot, which I think is perfect and full circle with how we open. And we put the VHS tape back in the box essentially.
And now Disney's yep, we basically Disney appreciates the movie now.
Yep, just took 30 years, but they appreciate it now.
They
made a bundle off of Powerline, so now they can appreciate it.
Well, I mean, and even Bill in the movie, it sounds like at the time I don't think Disney understood what they had.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he wasn't afraid to call them out.
So, with that in mind, I think the thing I want to kind of end on, I'm saying in terms of the movie itself. The title, the namesake of the movie, not just the goof. So, lyric from the song, obviously, but it's also it's the mission statement. It's this was no accident. It's kind of you can read it as a multitude of things. I think the biggest thing you can take away from it is this is not even though the critics panned this, even though this is again was seen maybe is not it's not worthy of being in the pantheon with all the rest, or this could have been something big, and then Katzenberg left and it didn't get the proper due. However you want to define it, it's the fact that it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like a waste of time. It wasn't it wasn't a mistake. Ultimately,
and like with wine, it only got better with age.
Exactly. So I love that as the title and the mission statement just within the title. So it's it's about the fandom with it being kind of a deep cut with a lyric from the song, but it's also means all these things, and it does fundamentally sum up what the documentary is. It's not a goof that this happened. People worked hard on this. They knew what they were doing, and they cared about it.
We haven't even talked about the time when the Burbank studio took over the French studio, and they had to move them
to the medical wing.
Yeah, basically, it's like this is this is an international sign for medical assistance. Open this door, and then
they were animating on plywood.
Basically, yeah, it's like they basically that was basically the encapsulation of wow, they really didn't care about this movie at all, did they?
Nope.
It's like the upper brass at Disney at the time, they really didn't care, which is actually kind of sad if you think about it. Especially considering now it's one of their most beloved properties.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, what can we say? I mean, this movie shed a lot of light onto things that we didn't even know.
Yep.
And we can talk until we're blue in the face at how much a Goofy movie means to us. How much the fact that how it basically filled our lives with being at one point identifying as Max, other times identifying as Goofy, the nostalgic value it has for us, as a product of the 90s, but also watching it many years later and seeing how well it holds up.
Yep.
And you can say that's not just a goof either. They somehow managed to make it with a time capsule and something timeless.
Yep. So again, I guess just to round things out real quick, just again, I love this. It was everything I could have wanted it to be. I mean, thankfully they have that's the on the road again. to give us like the one bit that was not in this movie. So I'm very satisfied. I have everything at least covered, so I'm all good. This is fantastic. And again, I desperately would love it to get a physical release. I don't think that's going to happen. Ideally, not on. I know what I said earlier about the VHS thing. That'd be great, but still, if I could have like a physical like Blu-ray or something, I would add it to my collection in a heartbeat. I don't think that's going to happen, but guy can dream.
It's like, and of course, like I said, I love like all the dailies that Kevin sent with like the production, like him explaining how the High Dad soup scene works.
Yep.
It's like I really would kind of wish we would have seen the daily for the hot tub scene.
I know. I really wanted that, Jacob. I was really hoping we would hit on that, but it was again, at least it was you felt it. It wasn't like completely glazed over. We did at least use it for like the big like kind of a cool like kind of visual beat in the movie. So
he may not be everything you think a son should be, but he loves me.
Hey, my son respects me.
My son respects me.
Yeah.
It's like and good and just basically that's probably Goofy's Bill Farmer's best acting is probably just him going like, yeah.
Absolutely. Just seriously, the in his best again, the blue mask of the Phantasm mask, like the best, most perfected version of the Goofy character. It has to be this movie, this performance. This is like everything you want. Because at the same time, he is funny, he is still goofy, but again, it's looking again, it's like what we kind of said a lot of the time, especially during like the Jim Carrey month that we've been doing. But it's basically the idea that we have like the comedic actors can bring. When you see a comedic actor, in this case, comedic character, being able to do drama, which seems again, it kind of comes naturally, but not a lot of people really realize this. You can do great drama with a comedian or great comedy with a dramatic actor, and it just feels, just feels right. It just feels like you have like so much untapped potential there.
Because at his heart, like he's still Goofy, he's still that same lovable goofball that he always has been, everybody mambo and all that.
Yep.
But at the same time, it really gets to the emotional core of him. Like he's like the only Disney character to canonically main of the Fab Five to have a child, like a child of not just nephews, but an actual child. And
he did something right.
Yep. So this movie like has a rare opportunity to explore that side of his character.
Yeah,
and it manages to. The thing is, even though it does reach into the pathos of that, and it doesn't really betray who Goofy is at his core. It actually kind of like not only like I wouldn't say it necessarily deconstructs it, but it kind of like puts into perspective as like what if this was your father? Like
yeah.
I mean, I know that's probably more like appropriate for the movie itself, but this documentary kind of taps into that. Like everyone sees it Goofy and their father a little bit.
Uh-huh. Which I can attest. Very true. So yeah, Theme Park Priest says great songs in a Goofy movie. Absolutely, Eye to Eye being a big standout for sure.
Like I really love like the behind the scenes dances. I like there's like how like one guy was just trying to like do the moves flawlessly as Powerline, and others like okay now you're gonna like do the dance moves with like the longer limbs as Goofy. Like now you do it as like a teenager would do it.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
All right.
And then Kevin Lima even like said that's probably the toughest sequence to put together because of all the effects and all that. Like all the effects, the camera movements, all that, which is nice.
Okay. Well, I think that'll about do it for us. Overall, we love the documentary.
We haven't even talked about like some of the. Can we talk about like some like how they got some of the cast for this movie too? I don't think we brought that up yet.
Go on, tell them.
Like how they talked about like how mainly like how they got like Pauly Shore to do it because like there's kind of like already a character in his voice. How they brought over some characters that already had their voices from a Goofy movie. Like we got to see a young Rob Paulsen doing the interviews too.
Yeah, him with Paulsen with the mullet.
Yep, I was like, oh my god, that's a young Rob Paulsen.
Young Jim Cummings. There was a sight there.
Yep, it was definitely the 90s.
It's like Jim Cummings auditioning for Lobo.
Oh my god. He would have made a good live action Lobo.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, and of course, I'm talking about more like adorable thing. I kind of like Jason Marsden and Maxine's actors being in a booth together.
And the kissy face gag.
It's like I was about to kiss, but he pulled away.
We're not adults.
That was adorable.
Which rarely do you ever. I think honestly, that's the first time I've ever seen like an actual kiss within a voice record session. I've always seen the faked kiss, but never the actual kiss.
They're trying to capture the awkwardness of it.
I know, which is perfect. You can, and seriously, if you watch that, I don't know if I'd like to think they tried that more than once, but I'm just saying, even if they used it one time, you kind of see it in one of the two kiss scenes.
It's like he was supposed to kiss me, but I was leaning in to kiss him, so I pulled away, and then it was adorable.
Yep.
It's like hard to believe that was over 30 years ago.
Yep.
And I love like Max being like Jason Marsden being like doing the noise like, don't worry guys, I'm fine. It's just acting. All right. I think that's basically all I wanted to say about that part.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that in there.
Well, again, they didn't end up casting Steve Martin. That much we do know.
Yes, thank God for that.
Yeah.
It's like, can you imagine? Can you just imagine? It's like Katzenberg being like, no, just Steve Martin with his own voice. And it's like, and basically even Kevin Lima was like, that's how quickly a studio's executive whim can change the movie in an instant.
That is the takeaway, folks.
If you don't fight against a really bad idea.
Oh yeah.
Which as we mentioned earlier, which Little Blue did bring up earlier.
Yep.
So yeah, thank goodness for that. And like, of course, Katzenberg, as pointed out, Katzenberg does eventually realize his mistakes. Because remember, he did try to take out part of that world from Little Mermaid.
He did, and
he eventually did realize his mistake. So
again,
give credit.
The double-edged sword. The man wields a heavy crown and a double-edged sword.
Sword of Damocles, basically.
Oh, absolutely. He's just swinging it around. It's like green light. This, cut this, change this, Black Friday this.
And think about it though. His style did give us some of the greatest movies of all time. So
my favorite detail, by the way, one of my favorite Jimmy Katzenberg details
in this movie.
In this movie. Yeah. Was the whole basically presenting the cuts like a menu of pricing, like okay, well to cut this it's going to be this much, this much, this much. That's the fact, because that again that's the Saul Goodman in Katzenberg. Ultimately, where again,
unfortunately that is a necessary step though, because obviously budget is a thing.
No, I know that, but at the end of the day, like that's a testament to Katzenberg. Where again, at the end of the day, Katzenberg. In Waking Sleep and Beauty, because I know you haven't seen it yet, but
which after seeing this, I really want to now.
You trust me, you really gotta watch that, Jacob. Anyway, in that movie, there's this great quote from Katzenberg. At least that is basically quoted. Jeff Katzenberg saying it. I'm not interested in the Oscar. I'm interested in the Bank of America award. That to a T represents Katzenberg, and what he said this to a room full of animators, and they were devastated. Like
I mean, of course, he's not going to say no to the Oscars.
Well, no, but that's the thing. It's just the idea that he's at the end of the day, it does boil down to I want to make a successful movie.
Money.
You have to make money. He wants to make the money, and at the end of the day, the creative stuff is just more like, what is a creative choice made in the direction of what creative choice will allow us the biggest financial yield at the end of the day, like will make the movie successful. So it's more successful than creatively this actually plays well with the story. He's like half invested in the story. He has the beginnings and the inklings of the story. This is a story we want to tell. I have no idea how to properly do that, but I definitely want to see it turn out well.
And I will, like I said, say what you will about that technique, but it did give us some of the greatest movies of all time. So
exactly, so it all worked out, which is why you can never fully hate Jeffrey Katzenberg at the end of the day.
I mean, it gave us like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King.
Yeah,
it's like, so think about it, some of the greatest, not just animated movies, some of the greatest movies of all time. So
yeah,
so he knew what he was doing.
He did. I mean, I don't think either that or he's really lucky, but one of the two, it worked out.
Yep. So think so. Yeah, and he had a good team working with him too. Like, but we can also check that up to like Frank Wells and Michael Eisner as well.
Okay. One last thing. Okay, because we're gonna keep going on talking about the movie, but
I kind of wish I did talk about like the whole Frank Wells thing, but maybe that's involved in.
No, that they cover that Wake and Sleeping Beauty. Don't talk about it now. All but right. One last thing, one of my favorite gags in this whole documentary.
Oh yeah,
I love that. Okay, so here's the thing. So Frank Welker is
doing the Bigfoot voice.
Yes. So Frank Welker doing the Bigfoot voice. Now, what I love about this is that you should know this about Frank Welker, okay? Frank Welker notoriously, he does, this is archival for a reason, Jake, because Frank Welker does not like doing interviews or he refuses to do documentaries. It's not like he's like, I don't know, he's not anti-documentary, he's just a he's very kind of shy-ish person. He keeps to himself. He doesn't like that.
I know he does interviews, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't like. I don't know. He doesn't like sitting down to a camera and doing interviews, or I guess you know what I mean. He doesn't like being like, for example, he rarely. I don't think he ever really does podcasts. He doesn't do podcasts. He doesn't do like. What interviews have you seen?
Like I haven't really. I mean, I've more like read interviews.
Well, that's written. That's what I'm saying. You've never seen him do.
Like I said, I know he does like interviews, but I know I've read the interviews.
That's what I'm saying. He's very shy about being on camera. Maybe I don't know if it has to just because of like the animal, like what we see here in the Bigfoot session. I don't know if maybe that's it. But in general, he's very sheepish when it comes to doing like interviews or spots in documentaries and stuff.
I think he barely even does any conventions.
Well, that's the thing. He's very to himself. He's a pro. He's to himself. And with that said, the fact that we had him as Bigfoot, essentially the rarity of capturing Frank Welker on film doing his thing is a Bigfoot footage in itself. And I think that's really funny.
That's like my finger's moist.
Yeah, and the little blue. Yeah.
Say, well, yeah, go ahead.
In the little blue's point. Remember Frank to talk about Abu on one of the Aladdin bonus feature disc.
Oh, nice.
That's true, but that's like Disney probably like you have to say something like unless it like if he's utterly forced to do like essentially a press kit of some kind, he's gonna have to do it. But I'm saying in terms of like him like letting in the booth and him like and then like sitting down and like actually like, hey, tell us about your career, Frank. He really doesn't like talking about himself and his accolades, that kind of thing. He doesn't like doing like an on camera interview.
It is kind of interesting how how much his natural voice does kind of sound like Fred.
Well, yeah.
Because I didn't know how much of the Fred Jones voice was just his natural voice.
Well, you know what's funny with Jim Cummings? He's listen to his podcast is great, by the way. I recommend everyone check it out.
Which one? What's the name of his like?
Tuned in.
Okay, there's like talking.
I know there's talking to. Don't confuse the people. Tuned in is the Jim Cummings podcast.
There's tuned in, Tune Talk, Talking Tunes.
Yes.
So, but Jim Cummings is the tuned in. All right.
Yes, that is the Jim Cummings podcast. Regardless, he's he's mentioned one of the podcasts. Like he always gets weirded out when he has to he does a character voice that pretty much is his voice, which means one of my favorite Jim Cummings roles he feels really weird about. Because I love him as Cat from Cat Dog, so that's essentially his regular speaking voice. Maybe like a dash of Bud Abbott thrown in there because he's a very straight man. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a little kind of straight man comedian dynamic, but he's pretty much just Jim Cummings' voice. Voice with character, folks. Voice with character.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, is there anything else you want to throw in there before we turn the lights off?
I mean, no. I think we pretty much covered as much as we wanted to. I mean, covered like all of our favorite gags, all of our favorite things that we've seen in this, like what the movie, that Goofy movie itself meant to us, and what this documentary shed light on. I think we pretty much said what we wanted to.
All right. Okay, so again, folks, can't say enough nice things about this documentary. It's a bleeping Valentine. We love it. I can't wait. I've rewatched it so many times right now. I can't wait to rewatch it again. Hopefully one day.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah. Anywho, let's thank the folks who decided to tune in.
Little Blue, Theme Park Priest,
and God knows who else in the aftermath. So thank you. After today, Anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay goofy and watch the movie.
And don't forget to stand out.